when you started ladygang, was reality television as big as it is today? Because I remember watching Bravo back when I was living in Utah, but it was just like, it was almost on a network that like no one really knew about. And it was like, oh, this is like a really fun show. Now I feel like it's gotten huge and housewives have really taken the forefront of reality TV.
Yeah.
Was it like that when ladygang came out?
So I think we were at different reality. We were in Survivor, we were in Bachelor and Bachelorette, like one girl, everyone fighting for the thing. These like conglomerate ensemble cast shows, I think, have really heated up in the past 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
I mean, there were housewives, yes, but it wasn't like, you know, there's entire people who make all of their money off just doing Bravo. Like, it's its own entity of popularity. And what's crazy is that with the ladygang podcast, I mean, we run this very interesting, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's a business and we have a download quota to hit for our advertisers. So you could get one of the biggest, we've had the biggest actresses in Hollywood. We had Sharon Stone on for 2 episodes, who's like iconic. And what she was telling us and the way she is, and she's a friend of mine and I love her and she's like an incredible girl's girl. But like she's one of the biggest, most recognizable names. You know, you're at the Met Gala, you're at whatever. You could have a housewife, you could have you could have, you know, Kristen Dowdy, you could have any of these people from Bravo and the numbers would be similar. The interest level is very similar. It's the highest reward, highest risk network of shows that I think exists in Hollywood. So it's like the risk of you being canceled, your life being ruined, you having to hide from people who are coming for you, to be publicly beheaded on multiple occasions, and then the next season be publicly loved. Like the high risk, the high reward, because the fan base is so intense that if you go on an Amazon, if you have a book, the fan base shows up. And so, is your life ruined one season? Yeah. Are your parents like, hey, people keep sending me articles about you being a whore, like, you know what I mean? Or getting murdered and you're getting death threats? Sure. Is your book going to the top of the New York Times? Yeah. So high risk, high reward.
You know what? I'll take it any day. And going back to the people who you have interviewed, because the list is insane. I want to know, because you do host shows like E! News where you're talking about things that people have done.
Yeah.
And you have an opinion. Has there ever been someone you've interviewed? Number one, I want to know the most in your mind, like, oh my God, that interview just sticks out in my mind every time. And you get nervous, like, oh shit, I've talked shit about them before and now they're coming in. I hope they didn't hear.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I feel this so deeply. So there in the Keltie vault, deep down in my soul, is the list of people I fucking hate.
Okay.
It has never been public.
Because I'm not trying, because this is a safe space, I'm not going to make you share, but I am dying to know who
I'll tell you. Because one of that there's a long list, because people are mostly assholes.
That's like, very true.
There's a very long list. And I wrote about it in Lady Secrets or Act Like a Lady. We have 2 ladygang books. I can't remember. I think it was Lady Secrets. It was a book about all of our secrets. I wrote about one A-list actress, probably most famous actress in the world, who was an absolute dick to me live on the red carpet, called me out. The story and then I'll name a name. So I can't name this name because I will literally get sued. But I was on a red carpet for a project and I had interviewed this person. They do a lot of rom-coms. And I had said, hey, would you, like in the junket or whatever, I was like, oh, you did this like murder mystery thing. Would you ever go back to rom-coms? And her answer was amazing. She was like, at a certain age, it doesn't really make sense to be in a rom-com unless you're like a widow. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, at a certain age, how can you still be that stupid in love? You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, have you met us? I was like, it's ageless, babe. But anyway, so we ran that article and Vogue picked up that article. And this is where clickbait, I am more scared of clickbait than you, and I swear to God, because what happens is the interview that I did went out, and then Vogue picked it up and they changed the headline to blah, 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 blah says she's done with rom-coms. If you're a rom-com queen, this is detrimental to your career, right? So then I saw this person a couple weeks later, and they came up to me and they're like, you put words in my mouth. This is live television. You put words in my mouth. And I was like, I had no idea because I don't read every headline that gets, once I do an interview, it goes all around the world. Like that's,
and I'm
so lucky that's the level that I'm at. But like, if you're one of the 5 girls doing Hollywood interviews, the rest of the world picks that up. And so that story went everywhere. I have no idea what happens to my stories after. Like, I can't track it. I'm on to the next. And she was like, you put words in my mouth. I was like, I have no idea. You look really beautiful tonight. Like, I don't know what to do. I flubbed it so bad. And that footage exists somewhere, and I'm dying because there was this whole thing with the Blake Lively interview series where, like, there was interviews where she maybe wasn't her best that came out. And now reporters are like, here's my worst interview. And I was like, God, I wish I could post this. I don't have the footage. I know what vault it exists in. It exists, and I wish someone would find it and post it because it was crazy. But it was a misunderstanding.
It was a misunderstanding, yes.
I never said that you were done with rom-coms. So on the other list of people, and we've since made up, but I had a run-in with Jake Gyllenhaal years ago, and I talked about it publicly, and we've never talked about it, but I've forgiven him, and since then have like given him praise about a lot of things. But we were on a red carpet, and it was 100 years ago. I was a baby reporter, and so I was very hungry, and I lived in this very high-pressure world where if you didn't come back with the goods, like people don't understand. There was a time in Hollywood where it was so cutthroat that it was like, if there's 5 correspondents on a show, you're so excited that you got to go to the Jake Gyllenhaal premiere. If you don't come back with something so newsworthy from Jake, you're fired. Because the next time it's going to be person number 2 that gets the assignment.
Send someone else
If you want to do Oscars, if you want to do Met Gala, if you want to do Beyonce interviews, you better show that you have the goods, that you can interview the house down, boots up to the vag. That's not a saying, but you know what I mean.
It is now, baby.
Taking it with me.
Like, you have got to be full on and doing it. And so I did this interview with Jake. I was so nervous. And there's a moment for an interviewer. You don't see it as much anymore because everything is live. But when we were making tapes and it wasn't live, where, the camera guy needs a second to get us framed, to get the light hitting where you need to hit, because you're scrunched up on the red carpet like this. And then when it's your time, the person who's at this show and the person who's at this show sort of like exit the scene so that you can have your moment with this star, right? There is an art to this.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking the moment to like give my camera guy a second to get his shot in. And I said to Jake Gyllenhaal, if you don't win an Oscar for this role, you should definitely win an Oscar for that neck tattoo because it is so dead sexy. Because in the movie, he has this, it was Prisoners. He has a huge spiderweb neck tattoo.
And I love a neck tattoo.
That's what I'm saying, Lala. And I was like, oh my God, like, he's so hot. And what man doesn't want to hear that they are the sexiest man? But I think it was looking back on it. And he actually just was like, I'm good on this interview, and kind of like went to the next.
Shut up. He dipped?
Yeah, he dipped. He didn't like that. And I understand now. He was in this era where he was just like a pretty boy, and he's a fabulous actor.
Yes.
But he was just sexiest man, like hot Jake Gyllenhaal, And so he wanted to be really taken seriously. And so I think that like my playfulness came off as like, this is going to be one of those stupid interviews where this girl flirts with me and she makes it all about me being sexy. And like it was a pretty serious movie and a pretty serious role. So my bad. But then for a while, that was my dinner party story when people are like, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on the red? Because everyone always asks, right? So that was my dinner party story. But since then, I've seen Jake. I've interviewed Jake. I think he's lovely. He's very talented.
Does he remember that?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm I'm not important. Do you remember every interviewer that when you do 20 interviews at BravoCon? No.
No, it actually makes me nervous when they're like, it's so great to see you again. And I'm like,
Did I say something?
No, but I'm also like,
you're Kiki Palmer.
I
don't know this man.
I don't know this man.
I'm sort of this man. I don't know who this man is.
I don't. And that's just, I'm bad with names and I'm bad with faces. But in that moment, like if something like that happened to me, like you immediately feel embarrassed and want to cry. Did you have to conduct more interviews after he dipped out on you?
Well, I was just there to get him because he's the big star,
and so
right?
Did you come back and tell your boss?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I had to call and be like, we have nothing from Jake. Literally nothing. It was pretty bad. I mean, being an entertainment journalist is the most, I mean, people see us at the Oscars, at the Met Gala, on the red carpet with the biggest stars, and you're like, oh my God, I want to be here. Like, people stop me all the time, and they're like, oh my God, I went to school for journalism. I'm trying to be you. And I was like, okay, just get ready for some heartburn and some like gut punches. Like, probably the similar way you feel after a reunion or after you film something and you feel like kind of weird about it and then you see it air and you're like, that's not how I meant that. I am trying to be a good person and this was taken. Like, all of that is a daily beast inside my gut.
Okay, as much as I hate that for you because I know the feeling, it makes me really happy to hear that.
That other people are in the boat.
This is where misery loves company, or a stomach ulcer loves someone else with a stomach ulcer from stress. Thank you so much for watching another episode of the Give Them Lala podcast. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe. Did I get all three? I'm getting really good at that.